Hey guys, Rob from AST here. So last week I promised you a little bit more details on what's going on with TRICARE, and here we are. I've got good news. You know, when we first started this, when we first posted this, there was panic. Changes are coming, and everyone is going to get a change overnight. And it's not quite that bad. The big changes are really happening in any coverage for ECHO or the Autism Demonstration Project for retirees. So if you're active military, your services, your funding, qualifications, it all stays the same. But what I really want to emphasize is this still is really important to you, because you may be active today, but you will retire at some point in time and therefore fall under this. So what we talk about is about the retirees, but know that this is ultimately going to be your future as well. So what's happening? The first piece is an assessment piece. So for someone to qualify for ABA services underneath the retiree section of the ECHO or Autism Demonstration Project, there's two new assessments that must be included in the initial paperwork. You have to have what's called an ADOS. Now, an ADOS is pretty much the gold standard of standardized assessments in diagnosing autism. It's not required, not every doctor uses it, not every psychologist uses it. It's seen as the best, but it's not necessary because autism is a subjective thing that we observe. And this is more of a structured, standardized test. So you don't really need it to diagnose, but if you're gonna use a standard test, this is the one you want your doctor to use. Well, TRICARE is saying for a retiree, you must have an ADOS that is diagnosing your child. So, what I mean by the active moving to retirees, if you don't have an ADOS as part of your diagnostic assessment, that's something you're going to need in order to qualify, because you don't automatically qualify from active to retiree. You almost have to get re-qualified underneath the demonstration project. So that's critical. You got to get the ADOS with your diagnosis, and if you don't have it, you're going to need to go back out to a doctor or psychologist to be able to get it. The other assessment that they're really emphasizing is called the Vineland 2. Now, the Vineland is what's considered a developmental assessment. It's something you use to be able to see how is a child progressing developmentally. A really nice thing about the Vineland is it's not based off of kids with autism. It's just based off of kids. So you get a little bit of insight into how is my child doing in comparison to all of the kids out there. Every type of kid. Neurotypical kids, kids with developmental disabilities. It's normalized or standardized developmental levels that you can compare. So it really gives you a sense of how am I bridging that gap. We've talked a lot about that with our early intervention videos. So the problem with the Vineland, it's this great tool and it's awesome. But me as a BCBA, I'm actually not qualified to administer the Vineland. It's something you need to be trained in. It's something that there are actually quite a few standards. Now, what you sometimes see is people kind of using the Vineland, and when they're using it to help them make some programming decisions, but they're not using it as a true standardized assessment. And what I believe TRICARE is going to be looking for is for the Vineland to be used as a true standardized assessment to evaluate how much progress is truly being made. And I, for example, am not yet qualified to be able to administer the Vineland. It's something I'm going to go do, and it's something that I know all of us here at AST are actually in the process of doing, is making sure everyone here is qualified to administer the test. Because if you're not qualified and you get the wrong outcomes, that could actually hurt your chances of getting authorized for a continuation of funding. And with every single progress report that your provider submits, they're going to need to re-administer a brand new Vineland. So that means a Vineland every 6 months. Now, active families, you don't need that right now, but that could be something that changes. That could be something that TRICARE looks to add in the future. So it's good for you to keep this in mind in the back of your head. A lot of other insurance companies are starting to use the Vineland more and more. Now, there's been some debate whether or not this is the right test to use or not the right test. And I have a lot of different opinions based upon talking to my friends and talking to my colleagues. And I think it's a discussion we need to have on a larger scale, not just in the ABA community, but kind of in the entire autism community, because there's a lot of point of views that need to be weighed in on. So if you've got opinions, Autism Speaks is creating a few forums to be able to share them, and I totally recommend that you guys do that. All right, those are the two assessments. We got the ADOS, we got the Vineland. Let's talk about a couple of the other things that are going into place here. The biggest one I think everyone should be concerned about is they're starting to put some caps and some limits to how much services a retiree qualifies for. So you guys are all probably used to the $36,000 a year cap. That's staying the same. That doesn't change whether you're active or retired. However, under the retiree ABA pilot, there is a 2-year limit to how long you can get services. So it doesn't matter how many years you had ABA as an active family, whether it be a day or 10 years. Everyone qualifies at the moment for a 2-year window of ABA. Obviously, this is leading to a huge discussion. And again, Autism Speaks is having a pretty big forum to talk about this, and one that everyone, if you active, retiree, get involved in this one. Now, there's a lot of debate over how did this year cap come up? Who determined this? How's this working? And it's one that we need to have a lot more dialogue about. And the last piece, which makes sense, but is one to be aware of, is that each report, there needs to be a demonstration of progress. So they're taking the goals, they're taking the Vineland to show child is demonstrating progress underneath this program, and it therefore should continue to another 6-month cycle and so forth. Conceptually, this makes sense, but be prepared for a slightly higher, if not more than slightly higher level of scrutiny to your progress reports than you maybe had underneath previous funding. People will be looking at them a little bit more closely, especially with all these regulations. All right, those are the 4 big points. We got the ADOS, we got the Vineland, the 2-year limit for retirees, and just that higher level of scrutiny so that we can show that the child is demonstrating progress within the ABA program. Brand new stuff. I totally recommend everyone check out Autism Speaks. They have some really great information, some forums, a couple of really good articles. Also, if you are speaking with your case manager, keep talking to them. Dialogue around this issue is going to be a good thing. Express concerns. Ask questions. I think more communication around this one, the better, because a lot of people are asking questions. The answers were slow to come in, and a lot of folks were saying that they were feeling a little bit behind. So this should hopefully give you more than a foundation to be able to take this dialogue to a whole nother level, and one that I really hope all of you do. Have a great week, everyone. Take care.